We need to stop pretending, really. Brexit's financial wreckage is all over the place. We haven't succeeded in Brexit. Even those people who thought Brexit was a good thing must concede that Brexit has left a trail of disaster. And it doesn't matter how much tabloid rage there is about what the Prime Minister is trying to do at the moment, Brexit isn't working. We're almost a decade on from that fateful referendum. Brexit was meant to be a rupture that healed, a liberation that enriched, a sovereignty reclaimed. Instead, it's turned into a prolonged economic anemia, and the British public knows it. Even if the tabloids screech of betrayal and surrender, the numbers tell a quieter, crueler story. Brexit is costing Britain dearly, and this week's UK-EU reset summit is not betrayal, it's triage. And the Office for Budget Responsibility estimates Britain under Brexit has inflicted on Britain a 4% long-term reduction in national income. That's about £100 billion annually, or roughly £2,000 per adult. That's what Brexit has cost us. UK trade has slumped by 15%, and we now export less to the EU than we did 5 years ago in real terms, despite inflation and population growth. Goods exports to our largest market, the EU, are still 18% below their 2019 level. Red tape has choked small businesses, while customs bureaucracy now costs £7.5 billion per year. This isn't a frictionless trade, this is fiscal masochism. And meanwhile, business investment, the vital ingredient for growth and productivity, flatlined after the referendum. According to the National Institute for Economic and Social Research, it's still around 13% below where it would have been if we had stayed. That means less innovation, fewer jobs, and a poorer country. And yet, the crowning irony, the promise to take back control of our borders has yielded record migration. Nearly 1 million net migrants arrived in the UK in the year to June 2023, 90% of them from outside the EU. We slammed the door on Poles and Romanians only to open the side gate to Bangladeshis and Nigerians. Not a problem per se, except this wasn't what voters were told. And it hasn't solved labour shortages in hospitality, construction or farming. Now, as Keir Starmer attempts a modest rapprochement, a reset summit offering closer food alignment, defence cooperation and a youth mobility scheme, the tabloids howl about betrayal. The Mail labels it a surrender summit. A surrender summit. Priti Patel, do you remember her? Priti Patel warns of Brussels rule. Farage sees French trawlers storming back, but this indignation conceals a deeper truth. Brexit was always a vague promise stuffed with incompatible goals. You cannot leave a rules-based club and still expect privileged access. Rejoining aspects of a single market on food or allowing young people to live and work across borders is not treason, it's damage control. And what's on the table? A security and defence pact, a deal on food and agri-tech standards to unblock supply chains, a proposed youth mobility scheme to help students and employers, and in return Brussels wants a 10-year fisheries deal and commitments to regulatory alignment. Reasonable? Well, perhaps. Revolutionary? Hardly. These are baby steps, not a backslide, but even baby steps are progress when you've been walking backwards for a decade, and they're badly needed, not just for British businesses, but for British diplomacy, now that Donald Trump is back on the line, quite literally, with Putin and Zelensky. The tragedy is this: the best gains from Brexit will come by inching back towards the very thing we left. Services, veterinary agreements, travel rights, data adequacy, energy integration, all are governed by EU rules and all require alignment. Sovereignty in this context means choosing which rules to follow, not freedom from rules entirely. So, when the tabloids rage against Starmer for betraying Brexit, they miss the point. Brexit betrayed itself. It overpromised, underdelivered, and now leaves us in the absurd position of begging for what we once had. Brexit was sold as a clean break. It has instead been a slow bleed, and Starmer's reset summit may be imperfect and politically risky, but it is an attempt, perhaps the first serious attempt, to stitch the gaping wound. And those shouting betrayal are not defending British interests, they are defending a fantasy, one that's costing us £100 billion a year. And so, if negotiating better terms with our nearest neighbour is surrender, then perhaps we should ask, what exactly was won? What exactly is a Brexit bonus? Because I still haven't seen one.